cannabis is a companion species. This is looking at the human-cannabis relationship, symbiotic relationship across scale. So from the biomolecular, biochemical to the human agroecological scale. I have a holistic approach to cannabis that seeks to dissolve boundaries, unify its identity as one plant. So I'm here purely because she's told me to be here. Yeah, this isn't. This is sort of out of my hands. I don't have a lot of agency here. Cannabis is the agent in this. Yeah. So I was going to have a poem by Ursula K. Le Guin. So as she can't say it, I don't know it off by heart. But green weed, grow me the way, show me the way. Okay. So it's going to be tricky without my slides, but that's all right. So cannabis is ubiquitous. She transgresses boundaries. She's a natureculture ambassador. Yeah. So I want to go beyond policy, go beyond memes that you can't see. Basically, the memes say hemp's going to save the planet. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Jacques Herrera. You probably know his strain of seeds, but you know, yeah. So, you know, he was a big cannabis hemp advocate. So I want you to picture something, yeah? I want you to picture 300 cannabis worker co-ops scattered across Britain. These could be off-grid communities, probably will be off-grid communities. In my vision, they're off-grid communities. They don't have to be, but. So scattered across Britain, these communities are producing medicine for the local wider community, perhaps even producing medicine for the NHS, if we still have a state-run NHS, or maybe yeah. So they're producing medicine, they're producing hempcrete for social housing, for the housing on the communities and for the wider community. Producing food, obviously, seed and leaves. Healing the soil, because our soil's pretty fucked in this country. Glyphosate has poisoned all our soils. It's in all our systems. You might want to Google glyphosate, yeah? I don't want to add extra worries to the already problems we've got, socio-ecological problems, but look up glyphosate, yeah? So cannabis will draw the heavy metals out of the soil, heal the soil, photoremediation, that's called. Cannabis is very, very good, effective at that. And finally, sucking the CO2 out of the air, so contributing to the problems of climate change that we're all having. Okay, so we're going to start with my story. My story begins in 1989, a significant year for me. Sorry, I'm moving around there, aren't I? Yeah, I'm a moving target, you see. Yeah, 1989 is an important year for me. I fell in love with Hannah. I took my first hit of acid, and I began a relationship with cannabis. Little did I know, as a wide-eyed 15-year-old, that I would become her unwitting accomplice, which is kind of why I'm here now. As I've said, she sent me here. I should also thank Karen and Fee as well for bringing me here as well. Okay, so in 1995, I grew my first skunk #1 under a hydroponic system, just a little time after my first child was born, on a cottage, a third of the way up Mount Snowdon. She was a lovely plant. You can see the picture of me with the plant. Since then, I've cultivated where and when possible. Due to the instability of renting, I often, sort of not forced, but I've sort of chosen to guerrilla grow. So every year, every season, I scout out a place to plant my, they're not mine, plants and seeds. This is a real joy in my life. I have to read that, I know that. This is a real joy in my life. Scouting out space, going out at dusk, digging a hole, planting the roots down. I know she loves it. I know she thrives doing it this way. I mean, like I've said, I grow under lights, but ideally outside under the sun is my ideal. So I now make tinctures out of the plants I grow outdoors. I tend to favour strains with higher levels of CBD. They're not great for smoking strains with CBD, but they're incredible for making tinctures. I make tinctures. Tinctures are great for insomnia. They're very effective for period pains. My youngest daughter uses them regularly, monthly, for her period pains and for anxiety. So as a counter narrative to this reefer madness, which is just insane, that's madness in itself. I'm not mad. Well, yeah. Anyway, I'm not here to talk my potions and talk about my potions too much. So it wasn't until I went back to university and did an anthropology degree that I started thinking about the human-cannabis relationship with a bit of an academic framework. I was lucky enough to be at a lecture by the multispecies anthropologist Anna Tsing. She's from the University of Santa Cruz. She says humans are in an interspecies relationship. We're in ecological webs. We can't separate ourselves out from these ecological webs. There's a great quote. Maybe by the end we'll get it. I'll stop referring to that actually. Anyway, so Anna Tsing was talking about social scientists engaging with biologists. So how social science needs to engage with the natural science and back obviously. I mean, often empiricism is something that the natural sciences has a monopoly over. So from Anna Tsing, I found Donna Haraway. Anyone here know Donna Haraway? Okay, well, Donna Haraway is incredible. Yeah. Here we go. So maybe we can, oh, thank you.
Nice, nice.
Can we give him a little clap there? Okay, so I can just, did that play?
No, hang on a second.
Anyway, yeah, I found Donna Haraway. Donna Haraway is a professor of history of consciousness, also from the University of Santa Cruz. Donna Haraway wrote a book called Companion Species Manifesto, Dogs, People and Significant Others. She talks about nature cultures. Her focus is her dog, the relationship with her dog. So this is about co-evolution. This is about not just biological evolution. This is the dance of discursive and cultural practices, dancing with biological processes over long periods of time, sort of time we can't really comprehend. But when I was reading the Companion Species Manifesto, I'd take the word dog away and I'd put the word cannabis, and it kind of made sense to me. So thinking about co-evolution, nature cultures, transgressing boundaries and significant others, cannabis is a significant other. We don't have to worry about that sound. We can move on.
Keep going, mate.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was thinking, I mean, reading Donna Haraway and Anna Tsing totally blew my mind. I thought suddenly all the things I'd been thinking about non-academically, I suddenly thought, I found a home here. I found some people who are speaking my language, especially coming from a more feminist point of view. Sometimes the male approach to things can be a bit dry and a little bit boring sometimes. So I was really turned on by this. And so I started thinking about the co-evolution, the biochemical relationship we're in. So the endocannabinoid system. Who doesn't know about the endocannabinoid system? Okay. So the endocannabinoid system is a biochemical network in our bodies, in our brains, in our central nervous system and in the peripheral organs. This network has receptors spread across the body. These receptors bind with cannabinoids, regulating a whole host of our physiological and psychological processes. So yeah, the endocannabinoid system. Where am I? I'm going to take a deep breath.
Just thinking, why don't you just leave the slides little?
I'm just going to leave, right, because I can't seem to get it to switch around the screen, so we'll just...
But if you use those arrows, maybe just... Yeah.
So...
The arrows at the bottom,
Yeah, she just...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So...
Top centre, assist play. That's it.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah,
okay, so...
Okay.
you.
O slow fish, show me the way. O green weed, grow me the way. The way you go, the way you grow, is the way indeed. O bright sun, light me the way, the right way, the one no one can say. If one can choose it, it is wrong. Sing me the way, O song. No one can lose it for long.
Okay, there's my tinctures. Anna Tsing. Yeah, we are beings within ecological webs, not outside of them. Multi-species landscapes are necessary to being human. If we care about livability, we are going to have to figure out how to make landscapes lively protagonists to our stories. So cannabis, thinking about cannabis. So we're onto the endocannabinoid system, as I said. So there's receptors. Robert Mellamede is a good biologist to look up. He calls it a master modulator. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to just dissolve a few boundaries here, yeah, the things that are little bugbears for me. So we know that humans are in a multifarious relationships with cannabis. Before any botanists pull me up, I don't know if there's any botanists here. Hemp is a colloquial term. Hemp is cannabis. Don't let anyone say that they're two different plants. Basically, we humans have bred the THC out of cannabis to why? Well, that's why we're here. We can probably guess why over generations humans have bred the THC out of cannabis to create hemp, but there's no evidence to suggest that lesser THC reduces the fiber quality, or there's nothing there for that. So yeah, I just want you to take away hemp is a colloquial term. It's not a strain. It's a use. We use cannabis for hemp. Yeah. The other boundaries I want to get rid of is this sativa indica ruderalis construction that we've come up with, because as we know, coming back to the male way of doing science, we need to categorize everything. This is this, this is this, this is this. But actually, cannabis is extremely adaptable. It will, I've grown the same strain and they've both grown totally different, like they're individual, like they're humans, like they're beings, sorry. Should I say they're persons, yeah? Now, I'm not going to go too far out on that one. Yeah, that's my own particular relationship. 10 minutes, please. Okay. I'm not meant to repeat that. It's not part of my talk. Okay, so this is a great quote here from Vivian Crawford. There is no absolute consensus as to whether cannabis is a closely related genus of plants, including, Cannabis indica ruderalis, or a single polymorphic species with various ecotypes. That's where I'm at. That is exactly where I'm at. Let's just call it a species, yeah. Furthermore, with the manifold breeding since the 70s of strains, it seems absurd to call something an indica or a sativa when, the proliferation of different strains is manifold. Also, coming back to the hemp cannabis binary, we are now, as you probably all know about CBD rising up in our consciousness. So there's people growing hemp and making medicine out of their hemp that they're growing, CBD medicine. A little side of that, always be careful if you're purchasing CBD medicine, where it's coming from, because there's a lot of charlatans out there. And also CBD, there's certain people, especially in Europe and probably in the US, I don't know, but people actually breeding strains with rich amounts of CBD. If you just plant a hempy strain, you're not likely to get a lot of CBD in there. You're going to need a lot of, So you need a good strain with a good level of CBD, not just a hempy strain. Okay, so coming back to one of the main points of my talk is, and going beyond policy, is what's it going to look like? What's our relationship going to look like? Okay, so I like to pull an old Marxist term out here. And think about the modes of production. I kind of want you to, a nice strain of Pineapple Express has told me to come to you and ask you a question and to see how you feel about this picture I'm going to show you. So just look at that for a second, okay? So here we have a harvest, a community harvest that I went and visited, and then went and involved, went for a day in South Devon, 3 acres of hemp. People brought food. It was a community event. We sat and chatted about our relationship with cannabis, and like you do, and harvested the hemp. And on the left here, or the right even, is a proposed 1 million square foot cannabis business park in Massachusetts. Okay, so I'm creating my own binary here and polarizing at the far, but still, I think we need to think about this. As to quote Terence McKenna, cannabis is profoundly disloyal to the values of modern industrialization. Now that, to me, resonates quite profoundly. So we've got the neoliberal model in Colorado. Okay, I'm going to whip through this. It's all good, £1 billion for hospitals. We're all hearing the great stories, £1 billion here, £1 billion there. But we know that capitalism and neoliberalism doesn't quite work like that. The money will dry up. There won't be money for hospitals, in 5-10 years' time. I mean, come back and tell me I'm wrong, but something tells me that this way it's a sticky plaster. So it's all good, and I'd advocate some kind of licensing where money is got and we filter it to hospitals and schools, but it's not the answer, is it? So there's other models. My focus is on cannabis worker co-ops. I call agroecological syndicalism. So we know what syndicalism is, an anarchist term, okay? So this is a bottom-up system.
So what does syndicalism mean?
Syndicalism means that if you had these 300 cannabis worker co-ops, sorry, who asked that? Yeah, if you had these 300 cannabis worker co-ops, they'd be working together. They wouldn't be competing with each other. They wouldn't be like, let's compete with, they'd be working together, as a network, yeah? Okay, so this is a quote from a hempcrete expert, Steve Allen. He's probably one of the foremost hemp experts on the planet now, and he doesn't see the big industrial model as realistic anyway. So just quickly, a bit of empiricism for you. This isn't all a fantasy in my head. This is already happening. So we've got Hempam in Oxfordshire, hemp co-op. They're producing CBD medicine. We've got Konopko in Slovenia, a cannabis co-op, making plastic, actual plastic, biogranulate plastic from their hemp. We've got Happy Day Farms in the Emerald Triangle in California, who are, they're not a co-op, but they're a small, I think, 25-acre farm, and cannabis forms the centre of their their own little economy. And finally, we've got Full Harvest Farm in Oakland. You Google movement generation, there's a great little video of Full Harvest Farm. This is an urban permaculture project of about 6 families. They also have a space where they take inmates who've freshly come out of prison. They teach them about food growing and relationships with plants. And cannabis plays a fundamental role in this. This is like the centre. Cannabis is at the centre of their economy. This is people's gateway into growing plants. I think that's what the film's called, actually. Okay, so I'll leave you with a little poem. We must be shameless in our veneration, vigilant in the preservation of the primeval, ever-evolving interaction with the green goddess. And together we shall dance into the unknown future. Thank you.